Yeah, recording has started. Yeah. So let us try to understand here how the transistors has evolved, okay, from different technology nodes from 2003 onwards, right? So you can see these images. They are basically the from first these, and this. These four images are the cross-sectional view of the transistor, whereas this is the top view of the transistor. So if you consider this 2003, the technology node was 90 nanometer node, right? And in 2005, they have shifted to new node, which is a 65 nanometer node, right? So if I multiply 90 with that zero point 0.7, so that gives me 63 nanometer, but 63 does not sound that good. So it is 65 nanometer technology node, right? So into zero point 0.7, right? That we have already discussed. All right. So here, you are already familiar with how the transistor looks like, right? But here okay, maybe I will draw it quickly here so that it would be easier for me to, suppose we are considering one N channel transistor, huh? So this is, okay, I cannot write it here. So this is source, this is drain, huh? So here everything, N plus everything is made up of, silicon. This is also silicon, this is also silicon, right? Prior to this 90 nanometer technology. But in 90 nanometer technology, what Intel has introduced, or obviously here I am saying everything in terms of, this Intel's device, huh? So what Intel has introduced is, in the source and drain region, they have introduced this silicon germanium, right? So you can see the silicon germanium, and that has, after each and every technology node, you can see the same silicon germanium source and drain hereafter. Even for this, I will show you, right? So what this silicon germanium does and why we have to introduce silicon germanium, that we will see in the next slide, right? So this is called this inverted silicon germanium strain silicon. Means when you use this silicon germanium, they are due to the lattice mismatch between silicon and silicon germanium, the channel silicon, the channel is made up of silicon. The channel is under some strain, either compressive or tensile, right? So depending on the uses of the concentrations and where you want to use it, right? More thing in the next slide, right? So this is also CG, silicon germanium. This is also CG written here, right? And that has continued even in 65 nanometer and hereafter, right? So not much change from 90 nanometer to 65 nanometer, but big change from 2005, that is 65 nanometer to 45 nanometer. Big change. What are the big change? See here. Here the gate is made up of polysilicon. Here the gate is also made up of polysilicon. But in 45 nanometer technology, Intel has introduced this metal. So that is the number one, metal gate. You remember when you have discussed just MOSFET in 2-3 slides back, we have said that when the MOSFET was invented earlier days, people used to use metal gates, right? Then they have some issue, they shifted to polysilicon, but in 2007 again the metal gate was reintroduced. Why? We will see that in next 2 slides, right? With that, the Intel has also introduced high K gate dielectric. What is high K gate dielectric? Obviously high K means whose dielectric constant is higher. Silicon dioxide dielectric constant is lower, well, not low, I will not say lower, but it's 3.9, towards lower side. So if you use higher dielectric, you have a better control, you have a lower leakage, right? And as they have the gate metal, as the metal is used as a gate, so metal has to be deposited at last, because this otherwise this metal get melt even if you use any other metal. So it is the gate last process. That means here this is the gate first process. You have to make the gate first. Here also gate first, and here it is the gate last process, right? So again from 2007 to 2009, that is 45 nanometer to 32 nanometer technology, you can see it is almost the same thing, only some minor difference, not type of any major difference, right? And from here, you see the still the devices are type of planar, right? If you consider like n, like this is n plus, this is n plus, so all devices are planar type. But in 2011, again there was a big change. So hereafter, means from 2011, which was 22 nanometer node, the devices were no longer planar or no longer 2D. It is type of 3D devices, and they are called these tri-gate devices. So you can see here, this is the gate. So here gate is only fat, right? But here I will show you the this is gate actually. This is gate, right? The gate is like this. This is gate, right? The in between this is silicon. So silicon is this one, right? So silicon is like this, right? So if I have to draw it, then it will be looking like this, right? On top of which you have a gate, and the gate is like this, right? So you can see here tri-gate, because here is one gate, here is one gate, this side is another gate. It is a tri-gate. So Intel said that we termed it as a tri-gate device, whereas some other company has also the same architecture has been termed as this FinFET, right? Okay. So the important thing is that from this node onwards, strain silicon technology has been introduced. It has gone after this. Then high K gate metal has introduced from this technology node, which has gone, which has been still been used in 2011 22 nanometer node. Tri-gate technology has been introduced till 2000. I think still now we are using this FinFET technology. But what is the next technology? We will also discuss that. Right. Let us now dig into it. Why this strain silicon? Okay. So see here. If suppose this is silicon, if you are also using here the top silicon, and if you below, if you have a complete, this thing is the silicon germanium, then it's called the blanket silicon germanium, because completely it is silicon. Then what you are getting is the biaxial tensile strain, right? This strain is not that much useful for us for some purpose, but rather we will go for this selective silicon germanium uniaxial compressive strain. Means we will make the source and drain only using this silicon germanium, right? So when you do that, you have an compressive strain that is coming to this channel, right? This uniaxial compressive strain. Uniaxial means only in this direction. So here you can see the strains are this is the tensile strain, but it is in both directions. One is in this direction and the other one is this direction. Here it is uniaxial because it is only in these two directions, right? So, and remember, this is used for when the material is, I mean the substrate is of p when the not substrate, when the MOSFET is PMOS, right? That means the substrate is what type? It is N silicon, right? So when the substrate is N silicon, or for the PMOS, this technology has been used, but we have to consider for the CMOS case, right? So this is the PMOS. Then what about the NMOS? Right. In NMOS, the technique what has been used is that they are not using silicon germanium in the source and drain. But what they are using, they are covering the total transistor using this silicon nitride. So what this silicon nitride does on top of it is that this high stress silicon nitride film, this creates an again uniaxial, this is the tensile strain. And how does it help? It increases or enhances the electron mobility. You got my point? So when you deposit the silicon nitride high stress and create this tensile strain for NMOS, electron mobility increases, right? Whereas for this PMOS, right, when you make the silicon germanium selective source and drain, right, then you create the compressive strain and it increases the hole mobility. So for this case, it hole mobility that is increases, right? Because current is if the mobility is more, current will be obviously more. The delay, all this stuff will also depend on this mobility. So it is important that we should make the mobility higher, right? So these techniques are used to make that mobility higher, because when you make the channel so small, there are some other scattering mechanism that will also come into play compared to the long channel devices, and which will deteriorate the mobility significantly, right? And if you see these images, cross-sectional images of this, so this is the real devices. This is the silicon germanium source and drain, right? This is some gate oxide, this is that gate metal, some special layer, all this stuff, right? And this is for this PMOS, right? And here this is for NMOS. For NMOS, highly compressive silicon nitride strain, silicon nitride film has been used, right, to enhance the mobility of this NMOS, right? So you have understood why we are using these two techniques, right? And still these techniques have been used, okay? And this was introduced in 2003. This is one of the very, very important thing, huh? Okay. Okay. Right. Before we go to the next slide, I think I should tell you this. See, in 2003, right, means at this 2003 nanometer technology, 90 nanometer technology. What is TOX? TOX is the oxide thickness, right? What was the thickness at that time in that node? It is 1.2 nanometer, because I already told you, when you want to shrink the device size, the oxide thickness of the MOSFET will also, you have to reduce, right? So in 2003 itself, the oxide thickness was 1.2 nanometer. So can you guess at 1.2 nanometer how many layers of atoms are there? It's only few layers of atoms, right? And that creates the issue. When the oxide becomes so thin, the tunneling means the leakage current plays a very, very important role. See this here. This is the gate leakage current, right? Uh, this is for, I think, 30 nanometer technology. See the leakage current. See the leakage current is from 0 to -1 and 0 to +1. So the leakage current is pretty high, right? So if you consider the total power dissipation in a CMOS circuit, so which is basically given as the C V square A plus this off state leakage current into the supply voltage. So we'll discuss this about equation when we will discuss CMOS. So you can see this is the and their active power actually dissipation actually, and this is that off state leakage current due to that. So you can follow these two color, this color and this color. So you see at 250 nanometer technology, almost all the power was dissipated due to this active power. Leakage power was very low dissipation, right? But see, as you are reducing the gate length and shrinking the device, see your active power dissipation is actually getting reduced, but the at this 45 nanometer technology node, see your the off state leakage, right? Due to this leakage, there will be power dissipation, right? That plays a major role, right? So we have to do something for this leakage, because now think about it. This leakage means this I of into V means that will produce heat, right? And this is not there is not only one transistor that is producing this heat, right? There will be millions, even billions of transistors, right? Now think of the total heat that has been generated within an IC. That will be huge, right? So how to solve that? So for that, what scientists has come up with, that we will not use silicon dioxide, okay, as a gate dielectric, but rather we will use some other dielectric whose uh, whose dielectric constant are pretty high, and they are called as high K. For example, silicon dielectric constant is 3.9, right? If we have, suppose, some dielectric constant, some dielectric material whose dielectric constant is 25, then we will get some advantage. What advantage? Let us see that. Let us consider the capacitance. You remember the capacitance in case of a MOSFET? How do you determine the MOSFET oxide capacitance, Cox? You have in the current equation, right? You have this mu n Cox W by L, then VGS minus VT square, right? So what is that Cox? That Cox is epsilon ox by Tox, right? Okay. So let us say that we don't want to compromise this Cox. We want to keep this Cox as same, right? Then if this is constant, right, and okay, maybe let us say that we have one oxide whose epsilon is epsilon ox 1 and its thickness is T ox 1. We have another oxide whose epsilon is OX2 and oxide thickness is TX2, right? And if the capacitance offered by both of them is same, right? And then we have to find for TOX2 what is the value of TOX2, then it gives out to be by TOX1 into this no, what it would be, this Tox2 we are finding, right? That will come here, so it will become epsilon ox2 by epsilon ox1 into Tox1, right? Now suppose this epsilon ox2 is 25, right? And this epsilon ox2 is 25 and epsilon ox1 is 3.9, right? Then this ratio becomes 6, right? So then we can write Tox2 equal to 6 times of Tox1, isn't it? So have you understood what I am trying to say? That if the high K material has a dielectric constant of 25, then you can have the thickness of 6 times. Suppose the silicon thickness is 1 nanometer. Okay. Now, if you make the thickness of the high K dielectric 6 nanometer, due to this high value of epsilon, the capacitances offered by this silicon dioxide and this high K will be same. But the physical thickness of that high K dielectric will be much more compared to that of this silicon dioxide, right? So that means you have more physical separation. Also, you can significantly reduce the tunneling current. And that is the beauty of using this high K dielectric. So here the same thing I have also done it. So that is the reason why still nowadays we have to use high K dielectric in MOSFETs. So here is one comparison. So you can see here, this is the comparison of leakage current for a high K dielectric MOSFET and silicon dioxide based MOSFET. So you can see compared to silicon dioxide based, high K dielectric leakage current is much lower, right? So that means this part, right? This part we can significantly reduce. I hope this part is clear to you. Right. Then what about the metal gate? So high K we understood. Then why the metal gate? Right. So the issue with the polysilicon gate was the polysilicon depletion. I think you already know what polysilicon depletion effect is, and the other one is polysilicon resistance, because polysilicons are doped, right? But even if you dope it very heavily, you cannot make the polysilicon doping you cannot make the conductivity of the doped polysilicon very close to that of this metal. So you have high resistance. The resistance of the polysilicon gate will be always higher compared to the metal gate. and the other one is the polysilicon depletion. What do you mean by polysilicon depletion? Polysilicon depletion means, suppose if you have a this is polysilicon, right? When you apply some gate voltage, there will be some depletion layer in this side, right? Right. It is highly doped, but there will be still some depletion layer here, right? So as this is a depletion region and the channel is forming here, so the total separation from the channel, from the channel to this metal is now the oxide, the separation due to oxide plus the depletion layer thickness, right? So that means the overall gate capacitance will reduce, means the current will fall, right? So that was the issue of using polysilicon gate for a highly synced device. Means when you sync the device more and more, these issues will come, because for why these issues will not be that significant for and for and take for technologies like 180 nanometer. That is because at 180 nanometer technology, the required oxide thickness, this is much more compared to the polysilicon depletion, right? But when you shrink the device dimension, your oxide thickness become also very smaller. At that time, the capacitance offered by the oxide and the capacitance offered by the depletion layer become comparable, right? So that is the reason you cannot use the polysilicon gate any further. You have to go to the metal gate, and that's how the metal gate has been introduced. So here it has already been, I have already shown you like how metal gates has used. So this is for silicon germanium based, right? This is that CG for PMOS, right? And this is for NMOS, and here these gates are metal gates, right? And you can see the this as per Gordon Moore, this is the biggest change in transistor technology in last 40 years, right? Okay, some fact sheet. How we are doing on time? Okay, still we have left some part. Okay, so fact sheet regarding Fab 32. Fab 32 is the Intel's uh, Intel's 45 nanometer technology fabrication facility. When they have built it, just to give some idea, it is not for the exam purpose, but for your understanding purpose, right? Fab 32, the total investment were around 3 billions in 2005, right? And Fab 32, the in terms of size, you can think of 17 US football fields, out of which there will be 3 football fields of clean room. So what do you mean by this clean room? So obviously from the name itself, it is clear that clean room means the room has to be clean, right? It is actually, this is one of the clean room, right? Here you can see, and this is that fab, total fab. So if it is the clean room, right? And for this clean room, the Fab 32 is a class 10 clean room. In clean room, the clean rooms are generally classified in different classes. For example, class 10, class 100, class 1000, like that, right? So what do you mean by this class 10 clean room, right? Class 10 clean room means in that room there are the number of particles, okay, which are more than 0.5 micron. Think about it, more than 5 micron in 1 cubic foot of air is less than 10. So you understood, number of particles whose size is more than 0.5 micron are in a 1 cubic foot of air is less than 10, right? That is what mean by this class 10, right? And you understood why this type of cleanliness is important, because because the dimensions of the semiconductor devices, they are so tiny that if some small particle drops where the gate metal has to be there, then the device will not work, right? The whole yield of that technique will significantly fall down, right? So that demands the cleanliness that is required for a semiconductor fab. Now, how do you compare, just to give a comparison with the outside world, this class 10 is that outside air means normal atmosphere that we are breathing. If we have to make a class of this, that will be class 3 million. Just think about it. Even see, hospital operating rooms, which seems to be very, very clean to a normal person, that is also a class 10,000 room, right? So you can understand that how much cleanliness is required in manufacturing the semiconductor devices, right? So, and why this much cleanliness is required, and actually that is why, the cost wise, you can see the tiniest semiconductor, okay, the chip, right? The If you think of the material point of view, that is very small material is required to make the chip, right? But why the chips are so costly? That is not because of the material, but because of the process, right? That much of continuous electricity, clean room, that much of highly trained, skilled work, this fab scientists, engineers, right? For them, the cost goes up. That's what initially Fairchild I told. There is one point, one transistor, $150. So that is not because of the material cost, because of the process cost. Right. So I think it's now around 12, so we should stop. But yeah, let me stop this recording. Yeah. But